All right, guys. So the next set of an assignment which we are trying to work on is an invoice processing. Okay. Think of this scenario where you're getting hundreds of an PDF files where the bot's supposed to process each file. You don't know how many files does exist in that folder. So the bot has to fetch if each of an individual PDF file in that folder, and we have to scrape or extract the specific content of those invoice information for the individual file, and we have to store back in an Excel. So I will show you what are all the PDFs I have in this template. So I already created 3 base templates. So, and I put down in the template. So the idea is to bot to open each PDF, and I'm looking to extract all the header level information and the line level information. Say in the Excel file, for each PDF, I want to extract these company information on the top and what date it got processed. So this is a date, and we have some customer level, client level information here. And also for each invoice, I want to extract the quantity, the description, and what is a subtotal and the total due amount. If you can see, when I set this PDF to 100%, there is some piece of an information where we are trying to scrape on the top. And if you were to scrape this subtotal and the total due, we need to scroll this page down. Okay. So we'll see how we can create a workflow in order to process these bulk invoices. So I have categorized this into different steps. If you can see here. So the first step is create an array to store all the file information. And the second step is we need to open each PDF and process it. And the third step is we need to ensure the PDF Adobe PDF settings are appropriately set. So one is an accessibility settings and also the reading settings. And the fourth step is we need to make sure the PDF zoom level is set appropriately, which is an actual size. And once the size is appropriately set, the fifth step would be to fetch the required data. So all this information, the header and line information, which we have discussed, in order to fetch this specific content. So in our previous classes, we have seen in order to extract the bulk information, we have been using the read PDF text or read PDF with OCR. Now we will see today, as I'm not interested in extracting the full extract. In our case, we want to extract in specific information. So in order to do that, we have a dedicated get text, or we can use either the anchor base. So depending on the specifics, sometimes anchor base works pretty well. However, we don't have to get into an anchor base in few scenarios. The get text will does your job. And step 6 is once you have built this workflow for one single PDF, you have to make this as a generic way. So we need to modify these selectors and make this work for any of the PDFs. So we can't create one set of a selector for each PDF, right? So it has to be something generic. So that we will see in step number 6. And also, when you're trying to process your each PDF, it is always a good idea to use an attached window and make your workflow consistent. And step number 8, once we have this information, we'll see how we can create a data table and how we can add data row for each PDF file and how to write back these results back to Excel template. So these are all the 8 set of steps which we need to do this, achieve this, accomplish this invoice processing. And also I have created one base invoice template and I am storing in the same template folder. So this is my Excel invoice template. So what is my expectation? Once bot process everything, I'm expecting the number of PDFs, it can be any n number of PDFs, for each PDF to extract all this information, the date, name, city, phone, zip, description, subtotal, and due, right? So once the bot is successfully processed, you should see those number of lines in this template. So I already created a base template. We'll try to append the data or write back this data on the same Excel. So let me take a new workflow. Invoice processing batch. Okay. So I'm taking one variable which is of an array of string. And I'm providing the base path where all of my template information is residing. So it's in under the data, the template. The search pattern we are providing only as PDFs. So I'm giving a start.pdfs and say okay. And let's iterate each of this PDF. And before doing that, okay, we do see that in the step number 8, we are writing all back to an Excel template. So before I read this array of files and storing an array, let's take one Excel application scope and read that Excel. Because reading this Excel and shouldn't happen within the loop, because if you do that, it can keep overriding your DT. So in order to avoid that, at the beginning itself, I am reading this specific Excel and I am storing in the form of an data. So I'm pointing this data and the template. So this invoice data is your Excel. I take the read range. The output I'm storing DT invoice. This is your data. Keeping the scope as a parent scope. Now let's get into iterating this PDF files. I'm taking the start process. Open each PDF file. Giving an explicit delay of 4 seconds. In order to set this each PDF file to base resolution to 100%, so I'm using an hotkey, send hotkeys, and control num1. Control num1. We'll use one more send hotkey. To make the page up. And before doing this, guys, As I discussed in earlier class, if you want to check Adobe settings, so we have a control K. So in the preferences of this PDF document, just ensure that under the reading, go to the reading and make sure the reading order is set to the recommended info order reading from the document, and uncheck this override the reading order in the tag documents. And the third setting is page versus document setting. It's supposed to be set to read the entire document, and uncheck this confirm before tagging documents. So these four options you need to ensure whatever the PDF documents you're trying to do, from the Adobe point of view perspective, you need to ensure this reading setting. And get back to accessibility and make sure these two under the other accessibility options, ensure the first two checkboxes are enabled. That's it. Those two things you need to make sure before processing as well. Now that we have got set up this, use this send hotkey and reset to 100% and you have the page up. Now I want to scrape all this information. So let me open the PDF Excel template and see. We'll go with each column information. What is the information we are looking for? First one is DJ. So if now I'm interested in extracting a specific content from the PDF. So we have an activity called get text. Get text. So just indicate this on the screen and spy this element. Spy this element. As I told you, we need to ensure that whatever the selector or the address of this particular thing, we have to make this generic. So I'm going to this selector value. Let's do one thing. Let's take an attached window. Let's take one attached window. All this set of an action should happen. Now let's spy this thing, whole PDF, and let's make this as a generic one, this selector. So here if you can see the title, it is DJ service invoice template 1.pdf. I am making this as a generic one. So replacing this with an asterisk and try to validate this thing. Yeah, this is fine. Now let's put this, all the hotkeys and all your further setup and processing, let's put under this attached window. So this would make your workflow consistent. And let's pull back this text as well. See guys, since we use an attach window, we don't have to modify these, the parent level container, this thing, this got grayed out, and this selector will be generic across this. So you don't have to keep modifying for each thing. So this looks pretty consistent to me. You don't have to modify anything. So output of this get text, I am storing this. This is DJ. And let's keep doing this for all the other piece of an information as well. Next thing is company. is a date. So we have covered DJ, company, and date. Next one would be the name. Next would be your city. Phone number. Zip. Next is your description. All right, guys. So we had in the template, so we have covered till description. Now the last two fields are subtotal and the due. So once this page is set to the zooming level of 100%, I don't see this subtotal and due. So we need to hover or we need to scroll. You need to do your page down. So once you see the page down, then it is brought into the foreground. So for that, I will use one more hotkey, which is page down this time. Which is page down. The page down. So once I do the page down, then try to use your get text. This one is in subtotal. And the last one is total due. So now we fetched all the required information in the template. Now, in order to, now we have a blank Excel template. Now I would like to add all these extracted or fetch information to a data row. In order to do that, we have an activity called add data row. So let's pull in add data row. Let's provide the data table which we have created on in the beginning, which is DT invoice. And the mode I'm using is array row. I will supply all these fetch extract information in the form of an array. The first one is DJ. Company. Name, city, phone, zip, and description. subtotal, and the total G. So let's put everything in an curly braces. That's it. So now that we have added to it, so what happens every time it iterates to the loop for the first set of an PDF after getting all these values. So we are adding the data row, add data row. Now we have pretty much everything, we got it here. So the final set of an activity we need to do is write back our results to an Excel. So I'm using a write range. So the Excel path gonna be under the data template. Check mark this add headers. And let's provide this DT invoice. Just be very clear, guys. So we are reading an Excel only once and we are storing in the form of a DT. And rest of the process we are looping through and we are iterating through each of them PDF, and results we are writing only once. Okay. And one step we forgot to close then PDF once we have everything, right? So we need to close individual PDFs as well. So for that, let's take the close application. All right, guys. So let's execute and see if the results are appropriate. So the bot opened and first template one and it started processing the template one. See, it tried to extracted all the header level line level information on the top, and for subtotal and the total due, it scrolled down on the bottom and it fetch other information as well. And it's processing the final template 3. All right, so let's go to an Excel template and see if the results are expected. So this is an invoice data. See, guys. So all this information from each of an PDF, the bot tried to scrape and it put down in the corresponding Excel.